The diner on the edge of Route 66 buzzed with the usual Friday night crowd. Laughter mixed with the clinking of dishes and the low hum of country music playing on the old jukebox. Near the window sat a young mother, Sarah, her hands wrapped around a half-empty coffee cup. Her coat looked too thin for the October chill, and the dark circles under her eyes hinted at long, restless nights. In front of her sat a plate of pancakes she had barely touched. When the waitress came by with a polite smile and asked if she was finished, Sarah hesitated. Her gaze fell on the food, then back to the woman. "Can I take the leftovers for my daughter?" she asked softly, her voice barely audible over the music. For a moment, the noise of the diner seemed to fade, and a few nearby customers glanced over. The waitress blinked, surprised, then nodded slowly. Sarah began packing the pancakes into a small takeout box, her fingers trembling slightly. She pulled a few crumpled bills from her pocket to cover the coffee. No one spoke, but in the corner of the diner, a man in a black leather jacket looked up from his plate and watched her quietly. The man in the leather jacket, known around town as Rick, watched Sarah with quiet curiosity. His rugged face bore the marks of years on the road, sun, wind, and solitude. He took a slow sip of his coffee, eyes never leaving the small figure at the corner booth. When Sarah stood to pay, her shoulders hunched as if carrying the weight of the world. She counted her money twice, sliding a few worn bills toward the waitress. Before she could say anything, Rick pushed back his chair, the scrape echoing through the diner. All heads turned as he walked to the counter, his heavy boots tapping against the floor. Without a word, he handed his card to the waitress and said, "Put her meal on me, and give her something warm to take home." Sarah froze, confused and a little embarrassed. "You don't have to do that," she whispered. Rick shook his head gently. "I know, but I want to." His voice was calm, almost soft, carrying more sincerity than she'd heard in a long time. The waitress nodded, speechless. A hush fell over the diner, the air heavy with emotion, as everyone watched an unexpected act of quiet kindness unfold. Rick sat back down, motioning for Sarah to join him. She hesitated, then slowly slid into the seat across from him, clutching the small takeout box like it was something precious. For a moment, neither spoke. The hum of the diner filled the silence between them until Rick finally said, "You reminded me of someone." His voice was rough but steady. "My wife used to save every leftover bite when money was tight. Said she didn't mind being hungry as long as our daughter ate first." He paused, eyes distant as if lost in a memory. 5 years ago, I lost them both. Car accident. I stopped eating out after that." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, her throat tightening as she whispered, "I'm so sorry." Rick gave a faint smile, the kind that carried both pain and peace. "Don't be. Seeing you today, it brought back something I thought I'd lost." The waitress quietly refilled their coffees, her eyes glassy with emotion. Around them, the diner had gone silent. People pretended to look away, but every ear was tuned to their table. In that moment, grief and compassion met quietly across a small diner table, bound by shared struggle and unexpected understay. When Sarah stood to leave, she thanked Rick with tears in her eyes. "You've done more than you know," she said softly. He smiled, nodding once. "Just keep taking care of your little girl. That's all that matters." She walked out into the cold evening, holding the takeout box close as if it were a treasure. Rick watched her through the window until she disappeared down the street. The waitress returned, still visibly moved, and asked if he needed anything else. Rick thought for a moment, then said, "Yeah, pack another plate of pancakes to go." She looked puzzled, but he added, "Someone else might need it tonight." When he left the diner, the low rumble of his Harley echoed through the quiet street. The customers remained silent for a while, each lost in thought. Then slowly conversations resumed, gentler this time. A man paid for a stranger's meal. A young couple tipped extra, and the waitress smiled through tears. That night, kindness spread quietly, like ripples in still water. One simple question, "Can I take the leftovers for my daughter?" had changed the tone of an entire room and reminded everyone that compassion still lived in ordinary hearts. Ending.